See, Susan went whatever way she did for that poor son of a bitch whose body you took, and everything else since has been aftermath.
He told her that he had no real memory of the shooting and its aftermath.
Aftermath of the no.
Hey everyone, and welcome to TalkWord. This is the show where we get really curious about English words. We dig into where they come from, what they mean, and most importantly, how to use them. So let's jump right in.
Okay, so picture this. A massive storm has just rolled through your town. Or maybe a really long, stressful crisis at work has finally ended. What's the word for that, that complicated, messy period that comes after? There's one word that just nails it.
And that word is aftermath. It's such a powerful word, isn't it? It just perfectly captures that feeling of dealing with what's left behind. Now, you might think you've got a handle on aftermath, but I'm willing to bet its backstory is going to surprise you. We're about to take a trip from a simple farmer's field all the way to your modern vocabulary. So, first things first, let's get the official definition on the table. The aftermath is the period that follows a really difficult or destructive event. Basically, it's all the consequences, all the fallout you have to deal with after something big and usually bad has gone down. But this is where the story takes a really cool turn. To get to the heart of this word, you have to ask a pretty strange question. What in the world does a field of grass have to do with the fallout from a disaster? Well, let's break the word itself apart. After is easy, right? It just means following in time. But math, that's the secret ingredient. It actually comes from an Old English word, math, which meant a mowing or a harvesting. So, get this, the word was originally all about farming. A farmer would go out and do the first mowing of the season to get hay. That was the main harvest. But later in the season, new grass would grow back. And that second, later mowing, that was, quite literally, the aftermath. The mowing that came after. So how in the world did we get from farms to feelings? Well, the word made a huge leap. This is a perfect example of how a word can evolve from something totally literal to something much more metaphorical and emotional. And here's the jump. The idea of a second harvest of grass became a powerful metaphor for the second harvest of consequences that you have to deal with after a major event. The aftermath is everything you have to face once the main event is over. So when should you use it? Well, here's a key rule. Aftermath is pretty much always saved for big, negative events. You'd never say, the aftermath of my birthday party was amazing. Nope. It's for the heavy stuff, natural disasters, wars, major accidents, or even just really serious arguments.
Let's look at a classic example you might see in the news. In the aftermath of the earthquake, international aid began to arrive. See? It perfectly describes that period of response and recovery after the disaster itself.
Or how about this one, looking at history? The country's economy struggled in the aftermath of the Long War. It captures those long-term difficult consequences that followed the conflict. But it doesn't have to be on a global scale. The word can be very personal too. For example, she dealt with difficult emotions in the aftermath of the argument with her friend. It's about that emotional cleanup that happens after a personal clash. Okay. This next part is really important if you want to use this word like a pro. Let's talk about a common mistake people make so you can avoid it. Here is the crucial point. Aftermath is not just a fancy synonym for result. It has a certain weight to it. It implies a complex, difficult, and often a long period of recovery or dealing with the fallout. Let's make this crystal clear. For the chaotic weeks following a huge flood, aftermath is the perfect word. But for the final score of a soccer game, you just say result. If you said the aftermath of the game was 2-1, you'd get some pretty funny looks. It just doesn't fit. All right, let's pull all these threads together. You've got the surprising origin story, the modern meaning, and the right context. You are now officially equipped with a very powerful new word. So to lock this into your brain, just remember these 3 things about aftermath. 1, it's the period after a big event. 2, that event is almost always difficult or destructive. And 3, it's all about dealing with complex, messy consequences. And that leaves me with one final question for you. What is the aftermath of learning a powerful new word? Well, hopefully it's feeling a little more confident and being able to express yourself just that much better. And that's really the whole point, isn't it? To just keep exploring, keep being curious, and keep building up your vocabulary one amazing word at a time. And hey, if you love digging into this word with me today, you should absolutely check out the TalkWord mobile app. You can actually write your own scripts explaining English words and then hear them read aloud by our two friendly hosts. It's a really fun way to practice. Thanks so much for joining me today on TalkWord.
In the grim economics of the aftermath, there are two harsh realities.
And you can get a bucket and a mop for the aftermath.